You're watching and listening to the latest Red and Blue review show. For all your Crystal Palace related chat, please like and subscribe across all the usual social media platforms, especially our YouTube channel. This really helps us out. Now, let's get on with the show.
Welcome to the Red and Blue Review.
Yeah, the best Crystal Palace fan show.
Come on, you Eagles.
Hey, very good evening, Palace fans across the globe. Welcome to another edition of the Red and Blue Review with me, Ian Noble, hosting this evening. And what a fantastic day yesterday was. Of course, for the second season running, winning in their backyard, that small team on the south coast. It was a good way, a very good way to stop the rot and get back to winning ways. So welcome to all of you joining us in the chat. It's great to have you with us. And hopefully, like me, you're still buzzing after yesterday. A great 3 points and a great win. And of course, we're going to be talking about that. So welcome along alongside me tonight. We have Paul Gear, Ack of the Real Panel. Good evening, Paul. How are you, mate?
Yeah, hi Ian. Yeah, all good. Yes, as you say, yesterday's result is a tonic for any sort of bad run, and so we wanted to end this run at some point, and to do it there was icing on the cake.
And then we have Tim Fab Richards. He's not fabulous necessarily, but a fan of Advisory Board member. Tim, your first visit to the Amex yesterday. What did you make of it?
It was an interesting one. Wendy's obviously first trip as well. What I would say is I was expecting so much more from their fans for an atmosphere. You know, I kind of listen, you know what it's like at Sellers Park, and never had experienced it before. I was expecting a real good atmosphere, and it was just like, Jesus, I thought West Ham away was bad, but I couldn't believe how poor their crowd were.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the atmosphere at the Amex yesterday. And returning after quite a long break, actually, I think, Ireland's finest, Fergus Tidd. Good evening, Ferg.
Evening, Ian. Evening, everybody. Yeah, good to be back, and especially on the back of a fantastic win against our rivals.
And you said to me pre-show you're hanging a bit today. Is that right?
I'm still hanging. Yeah, I was the last to leave the pub last night. So, but it's been such a long time since we've had something to celebrate. I made the most of it.
And I hasten to add, if you're watching this podcast, I hasten to add this pub that he was chucked out of right at the last knock-ins last night is in Sussex, of course, in Brighton territory. So there we go. Guys, great to have you with me tonight on the pod. It really is good to have you on board. Tim, lots of people joining us in the chat tonight, lots of regular faces. You're going to keep an eye on the chat for us. Of course, Paul Bristow, good evening from Plymouth. Good evening to you, Paul. Good to see you yesterday. And you would have noticed the little cartoony bit we had at the front of the show. By the way, I didn't know that was going to happen tonight. Obviously, I've seen it before. AI generated, of course, but that was a bit of fun. And thank you, Paul, for putting that together for us during the week. You've clearly got far too much time on your hands, mate. Good to see everyone. Dawn's there, Lee's there, Damien Aldous, George is there, Robert, Lay, Leon, Ian, James Appleby, and lots of others as well. So good to see you all, guys. And do get involved tonight. We'll ask you some questions. It'll be really good to have your input joining us. And of course, Yasmin, you're here. You're normally here on the panel, but you're watching us tonight. Hi, Yaz. Hope you're well. So, what a difference a win makes, guys. Not just a win yesterday, but the fact we got a point up at Forest last week. So 4 points out of 6 in 2 away games. That's not bad in the Premier League by any stretch, whoever you're playing. How are we all feeling now, given that only on Saturday night, Danny Murphy said, and I quote on Match of the Day, I think it's going to be tight. I think it will go down to the wire, a 3-horse race for the third place between Palace, Forest and West Ham. Are we still thinking that, or are we thinking very differently? Let me come to you first, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, the reason he said that was obviously because of our form. And if you look at the run, when you haven't won in 9 league games, 10 league games, then when you're falling like that, you're going to be one of the favourites for relegation. And the only reason the other teams down there, West Ham, Leeds, they're sort of picking up points from Forest. So that's the reason for that. Obviously, the minute we get the win, we've sucked a few more teams into it and now below us. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the work isn't done yet. We've got a nice couple of 2 home fixtures coming up where we could hopefully put all that to bed. But yeah, obviously that win makes just a world of difference to our form, to our outlook, and to the optimism ahead.
Do you not feel that the players there was a togetherness between the players? I mean, Tim, you saw at the end they came over, Lacroix did his bit, and then they introduced the 2 new boys to do their bit, punch in the air. There's definitely a togetherness still there, isn't there? Would that not have been there before the game, before the win yesterday?
I think yesterday was the first time in ages that I can actually remember looking at a Palace team playing for each other, and you could see it actually meant something right from the first whistle. The effort they were putting in, well, apart from one player, the effort they were putting in, how much they were putting into it, even winning tackles, and they were high-fiving and they were like up for it. So you could see, and I can't remember the last time we actually seemed to play with a passion and a desire like that. And I think that's basically what made the difference yesterday.
Interesting. Paul, and I'll come to Fergus.
Yeah, who's that one player, Tim?
I couldn't possibly comment, Pino, but there we go. We've had this conversation before, but yeah.
he thinks Pino had a bad game yesterday. We'll come to that, and we'll talk about it during the game in a minute or two. Fergus, how much more positive are you feeling now on the back of yesterday's win and the point of Forest?
No, I'm really positive. But then I've always been positive about Palace. I think I wouldn't take any notes of Danny Murphy and what he says, because I think he got voted one of the worst pundits recently on TV. So, yeah, but it's interesting that we were always in that conversation about relegation, but Spurs never were, and we were on the same points. And now Spurs and Brighton are below us. So it'd be interesting to see what the media make of that. But I was always confident that we would, when we get our players back and the signings that we've made, we would be looking up, not down. And so it proved yesterday. Like you said, like Tim referred to, you could just see everybody. I don't know whether that's because potentially the poison apple's been removed from the squad. Maybe there was a bit of toxicity there, but that's not there anymore. And
you're talking about Johnson Mateta, are you? You're talking about Mateta?
I don't want to mention any names.
Well, no, this is a Palace podcast.
But I do. I don't think he's the sort of person that maybe would be toxic. But Henderson referred to somebody within the squad, didn't he, recently?
Okay.
He didn't name who it was, but yeah, very positive. Very positive.
Okay. Paul.
Yeah, I just thought it was quite interesting what we said there about keeping Palace. Up until yesterday, they were showing the bottom 6 as the relegation. Now I noted today it's quite funny, the relegation battle. They're talking about the bottom 8 just to keep us in.
Fantastic. They want to keep dragging us into it. Listen, this is our 13th season in the Premier League. That's the other thing that people need to understand. I remember when we got promoted, I thought if we can do a Stoke City and start for 10 seasons, that'd be incredible. And everyone thought I was bonkers for even commenting or even thinking that. But you kind of imagine, can you, Ferg, in 2013 that we would still be here in 2026 and having won an FA Cup as well. You're beyond your wildest dreams, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I can't remember who I was talking to yesterday. I was just saying I don't understand the negativity and the parish bashers, and I know Glasman's probably got it on himself, but slagging the players off, slagging the settle off. Because in 2013, we were bankrupt. No, 2010, sorry, we were bankrupt. 2013, we got promoted. We've been there ever since. We've won an FA Cup, a Charity Shield. We're in Europe, and we're building a brand new stand. If somebody had said that to you 16 years ago, you'd have bitten the hand off with me. It's just.
Well, you would have locked them up. You would have had them sectioned, probably, if they predicted
and
that.
We all, although we've got rich owners, we do seem to be a bit hamstrung by that. They don't invest a lot of money. So, we've run it as a really good business. Parish has anyway.
The reason they're rich is they don't spend very much money. I think that's the thing. Lee Lockwood says, God bless Kevin Phillips. Yeah, absolutely, Lee. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's not dwell on nostalgia too much. Let's talk about the present. Let's talk about yesterday. Nigel, do we have the starting 11 there? Let's get the start. Oh, before we get to the starting 11, look, Tim, you weren't there. You hadn't turned up by then. You know, you were still queuing up to get
Lucky
in, I think.
escape.
But there's Mr. Philpott there on the left, Ferg with your arm round him. We've all got pints in our hand, apart from you and Yaz, Paul. And Yaz's scarf's all askew. But, you know, that was in the ground before the game. So, yeah. Good to see everyone yesterday. There's the team. 2 changes from the team up at the City Ground the week before. Of course, Chaddy Riyad and Brennan Johnson made way for Adam Wharton returning from suspension and debutant Jurgen Strand-Larsen, who has his own song stolen directly from Wolverhampton Wanderers already, which is quite something. And Paul, before we get into the game, before Fergus talks about the game, tell us your thoughts on that lineup when you saw it yesterday at 1:00.
Yeah, well, when I saw that, I mean, to be honest, I said that's the side I probably would have picked, and it was actually, given the ridiculousness of our bench the week before, we had a really strong bench as well for our standards. So, yeah, I mean, it showed obviously we got players coming back, and we've got obviously brought some new players in. We've got three in the window, obviously, which we'll come on to later. But yeah, that's the team I would have played. I think Strand-Larsen had to make his debut, and I said before the weekend in some of our chats here, and that to me, Lerma should be the starting centre back for the rest of the season. And then Canvo and Riyad can come on when necessary to get their experience for the inexperienced Canvo and fitness for Riyad. So, but I like Lerma as a centre back. So I was quite and given obviously the importance of that match, I think he would have done it anyway. But I think for me going forward, if we can keep that defence for the rest of the season, we're going to have a strong base.
Very good. Would you have played Lerma at centre back, Tim, yesterday?
Yeah, I think so. And I think he was brilliant. I think it's probably one of his best performances for the club yesterday. I don't think he put a foot wrong all game. He wound up Welbeck as well, which I thought was brilliant. But no, I thought he was outstanding yesterday.
And I think I think Oliver Glasner got it right, whereas Fabian Herzler, whatever his name is, got it wrong for them because he played a 17-year-old kid and an 18-year-old kid in a fixture that was, you know, mattered arguably more than other Premier League games. So I think he got it spot on with playing Lerma at centre back. And of course, we have players to come in, like Adam came back into the midfield, and Strand-Larsen was an obvious pick up top. Fergus.
Before I go into the game, just on Lerma, I think it was my man of the match. But he won 12 duels yesterday, 9 clearances, 4 tackles, 59 touches, and 41 complete passes.
Amazing.
He had an amazing game yesterday at centre back. So, you know, he's got to be on the starting sheet next week or Wednesday against Burnley.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say, as Paul just said, I think that is the starting back 3 now, barring injuries, suspensions. I think you play those 3 in every game. You know, maybe if there's a European game, you give one of them a little break. I don't know, depending on, like, let's say, for example, we go to Bosnia and we win 3-0. Then maybe in the return leg, you know, you don't start all 3 of them. You give one of them some minutes off, sort of thing. And a word for Chris Richards as well, because he's been playing right-sided. And yesterday he moved, and you know, you wouldn't know that he hadn't played there. He had a great game and did really, really well. And while we're talking about the backs,
is Lerma's contract up at the end of the season? Is he one of the players?
Yeah.
I don't know. Tell us in the chat, or if you know. Paul's nodding his head. Yeah, Lerma's contract is up at the end of the season. And of course, while we're talking about the back 3, you know, you've got to speak about Maxence Lacroix. I mean, what a game he had yesterday. He got his defensive contribution in FPL for a start. And he earned me 11 FPL points. So I was very happy with our captain. So Lerma man of the match for you before we've even got into a match report, but I don't think many people disagree with you, Fergus.
No.
So tell us about the game. Let's talk about the key moments. There wasn't too much to talk about in the first half, was there really? Not really.
There wasn't really. No, the first 5 minutes, I mean, Brighton had a flurry of corners. You know, it's what you expect. Brighton start quick and fast, and I think that was part of the reason that Pino was playing, because I think Glasson was expecting that, and players that are already used to our setup knew how they could defend it. So, but we'll come on to Pino later. But yeah, so after the corners, fairly quiet, lots of possession to Brighton, not Palace not really creating anything. And then I think the first 17 minutes, the obligatory yellow card from Hughes. We all knew it was coming,
Early,
but it
really,
came
wasn't it?
quite early. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And it made us very, very nervous. So I don't know how you guys felt about that so early in the game. I started talking about taking him off at half time, just because he's a liability. But
Well, I think Will Hughes is experienced enough to know that he's on a yellow card, and therefore, maybe temper his game a little bit towards that. And of course, it proved correct yesterday. He did get taken off eventually, but he had a good game, solid game, and didn't let it affect him too much. So, yeah. The other thing worth saying before you move on too further forward into the game is that we lost the toss, but Brighton turned us round from the way they normally kick, which was bizarre. Most bizarre thing I've known, actually. Strange one, but Paul.
Well, I think it shows their sort of lack of confidence at home, and there's a lot of talk down there that in a couple of years we're going to be moved. The away fans, they don't like having the away fans behind the goal because it's obviously a big bonus for the away team. So yeah, I think they just probably is actually credit to our fans. Really, they don't want us kicking towards. So it's more important we don't kick to our fans second half than them going to theirs. So yeah, it's sort of like a moral battle won at the start.
Yeah. Yasmin says too early for the booking. The referee should have let it go. He certainly did that for Brighton players. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. Yeah. I mean, there could have been a couple of bookings to Brighton in that first half, but they didn't get it. And from that free kick, so Gross, he hit kind of like a low hard cross into the box, and Dunk rose the highest, and it was just a glancing header that went wide. So that's the first chance really in the game, off target. And then the next one of note was Matoma. I thought he was their best player probably in a poor side yesterday. And he broke down the left and he crossed it. Luckily for us, the Brighton player on the front post missed it. It hit Richards at the back, came back out, and then I think it's De Kuiper, like lashed a shot and it hit Lacroix, bounced back out, and then the ball pinged around again and it came back to De Kuiper again, and he had another shot, which was the first shot on target, funny enough, 31 minutes, which was straight down Henderson's throat. It was quite an easy save. Yeah. And then, we went down the other end. We had free kick, and Pino crossed it. Lacroix headed it back across goal, and Walton lashed at it, and it went wide, well wide. So, and then as the half kind of come to a close, I think that's where we came into the game. We had a few, I wouldn't call them brilliant chances, but Richards had a long throw, and Belabor tried to clear it, and it hit Strand Larson and just went wide of the post. Hughes took his corners were really good actually yesterday, first half. Hughes' corners, and Lerma headed wide from the corner. And then, Munoz. So he played Sarr through right at the end of the half, 43 minutes. It was clean through, and he just blazed it wide of the post, right in front of the Palace fans. So
I think Lewis did enough to put him off, didn't he? Slid in, and he was forced to play the shot sooner than he would have.
Yeah,
otherwise, he probably would have liked to have taken another touch, steady himself a bit, but Dunk slid in. And to be fair to him, give him stick, but he did well. Defender did well. So
but like I said, wasn't the most exciting first half. Not many chances. Brighton had obviously one shot on target. We had none. I don't know if you guys have got any other comments on the first half.
Not really.
No.
It was two, to be honest, 2 out of form teams, and both not wanting to concede, so there wasn't much risk taking. I think both teams were probably just happy to go in 0-0, really.
Yeah, I think if you can get to half time and you're not playing very well, and you're on a winless run, get to the break, you're not behind, that's it's a positive to some extent. It was cautious, wasn't it? There was a lot of risk So therefore, but both teams didn't really do a huge amount. I think Glasner even said it wasn't the best example of Premier League football in that first 45.
No, but what I did sense was, I mean, Brighton weren't very loud anyway, but you could sense the nervousness.
Yeah.
In the Brighton fans, and the confidence was certainly growing at the Palace end. You get to half time 0-0, and we finished it quite strong. So, I think coming out for the second half, I think we were the more confident.
Half time, I was more concerned about getting a pie because I was quite hungry by then, and having a bottle of water without the top on, which is another subject for another day. But
yeah. So we'll move on. Second half. So the first significant thing was the substitution. So he took Pino off in 56 minutes and brought Gasson on. Yeah. Which turned out to be a bit of a stroke of genius, really, because I think he had a really good game, really good sort of 34 minutes on the pitch.
So Fergus, let me interrupt you. Let's talk about Pino then for a moment. Pino, a lot of people giving him a bit of stick yesterday, and in chats I'm in. Justified yesterday? He had a bad game. Did he have a bad game? Why did he have a bad game, Tim?
I find it quite entertaining. I got a lot of abuse over the months of pointing out Kamada's lack of ability and how it took him nearly a season to actually figure out which way to kick the ball. And what I find entertaining is seeing that those same people that criticised me for pointing that out are criticising Pino after like half a season. But I agree. Unfortunately, I'd love to think he'll turn out to be a great player, but I've seen no or little improvement, if anything, in his play from his first game to yesterday. Every now and then he might do one good pass, or he might have a good 10 minutes. But like yesterday, like he gave Tyra Mitchell no support whatsoever on the wing. He didn't like actually hustle back at all. So I wish he would. I'd love to be proved wrong, but I just don't see a Premiership player at the moment in Pino.
Okay, Paul, you're quite a fan of his, aren't you? You quite like him. You were criticising the manager for dropping him the other week.
Well, yeah, I mean, he scored 2 in 2 games the other week. He was our top scorer this calendar year at this point, and then he dropped him. I mean, he's a fully fledged Spanish international. He has a style of play, a quick passing and stuff. Now, yeah, not everything goes on. Now, as I've said on here before, I like people that play aggressive forward playing thing in football. And the thing I like about Pino is he always wants to try and find a forward pass. Now, sometimes our strikers are not very mobile, or there's not much staticness. So I don't have too many problems with people giving the ball away if they're trying to do the right thing for me. I'd much rather see someone try and play a progressive advancing pass than just passing it, no risk back from the left back to centre back to right back to centre back. Yeah. So he tries to make things happen. So yeah, things aren't always going to come off. I think he's a bit lightweight at the moment. He does get knocked over the ball like a lot of Europeans. He goes down a bit easy. That he'll adjust to that hopefully. But I think there's a player in there, but it's a bit like when Lombardo was here. He was on a different wavelength, and although Pino's no Lombardo, it's still got to get used to the team. The way we keep changing our forwards. Obviously, Mateta makes no run for him when he was playing. Sarr's been out for a while, so yeah, I don't mind it. But as we said earlier, the good thing now is there's a pressure on these attackers to play now, because if they don't perform, they can get rotated out, swapped out, subbed, and whatever. So when you're on the pitch, you have to do the business. If you don't, he will get subbed like he did yesterday, and hopefully that'll be the case for all of them. So yeah, I don't think he's a bad player, but it's I think he might sometimes tries to be a bit too clever.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of love for him in the chat. Mark Callan says Pino gets knocked off the ball very easily. Leon sounds he will come good. Someone else said earlier, what just gone through a miss to it was he's a baller. We've got a player there. George says decent player, but lightweight, needs some time. Yeah, so I think we're patient enough with him. But Paul, I think you make a very interesting point that literally, 3 or 4 weeks ago, if you played 90 minutes, you were first choice at Crystal Palace. You could play 90 minutes and not play very well, and you'd still play 90 minutes plus. Now, if you're not playing very well, you'll get subbed out because the bench is so much stronger, which is what we need. and it worked yesterday. So yeah, I think it'll be fine. And also, he's got a very good song, and we need him to carry on playing. So until we get to Leipzig. So yeah, Fergus, let's carry on.
Okay. No, just on Pino, I agree. I think he's a baller. I just think he's just needs to adjust. It's a physical league. Physicality, he's probably not used to it.
Yep.
Spain, they stand off you and let you do all your fancy stuff. But here, if you've got the ball longer than a split second, someone's taking you out. So he's just got to adjust to that. Right, so let's move on to the goal. 61 minutes. So there's a bit of ping pong here. So Walton wins a header in midfield. It goes to Larson, who then plays it to Munoz, who manages to keep it in and knocks it back down the wing to Larson, who plays it back to Walton, who then plays it upfield. And we get a lovely assist from Dunk, who heads it back to Gussond, who chests the ball down, runs towards the goal, fends off a Brighton defender, and just slots the ball into the middle of the park to Sarr. And it was a good finish. It went in off the keeper's head, but I don't care as long as it goes in. And Palace are 1-0 up.
Yeah, he still had a bit to do, didn't he? Nigel, could we just go back to that other graphic, please? The last picture. He still had a bit to do. 12 yards there. Dunk sliding in. Not quite as quick as he was in the first half for the one at an angle. He gets his shot away and he hits the target and scores. Is that Tariq Mitchell next to him in the penalty area? Is that T? Who's that next to him in the penalty area?
Must be.
Yeah, I
it
think
looks
it is.
like it.
Yeah. So I know he did the right thing. He got the shot away. But I thought it was interesting that Tariq Mitchell is right up there supporting the attack there. So if it had got saved and it bounced back, he was there to maybe grab the rebound, which I thought was really good. So yeah, 1-0 and Q Bedlam in the away end. How good was that goal celebration? And Dino's leading it. Look, he's like crazy.
Fantastic.
I know. Captain Fantastic, eh? Good stuff. So 1-0 on the hour mark.
1-0.
Happy days.
But we very nearly let them back in again shortly after that. About 65 minutes, Matoma tried to put a ball through and Lacroix tried to defend it, and all he did was put it in the path of Costulas, and he was clean through one-on-one with Henderson. Tried to bend it around him, and Henderson saved it with his knee. So great save. England's number one. So kept us in the game, and then from then on, I think Lacroix had a header headed over from a corner. It was quite a good header. Could have probably done better with that. And then Brighton rung the changes, made 3 substitutions. Didn't really make a difference, to be fair. And the next chance again, Matoma, loose back pass straight to Strand Larson. And he was through, kind of forced himself out a little bit wide. Still hit the target. It was a good save by Verbruggen.
He didn't have much choice there, did he? He had to get the shot away. No. Paul, we touched on that before the show. Did the right thing for you, Paul Gear, Strand Larson?
He hit the target, and that's all you can do, really. As you say, you hit the target, you make the keeper make a save. It can go through him, it can come off him. You can get a set piece from a save, or it comes out for a rebound. So, yeah, as long as you hit the target, then you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, and he what I liked about him yesterday was he a lot of energy. He pressed well, didn't he, Strand Larson? Did you notice what he was doing from their short goal kicks? Really putting the keeper under a lot of pressure. Yeah, forcing the errors sometimes. So looks bright, doesn't he? And someone's got to tell him we don't play in gold every week, though. That worries me a little bit. I think so.
He's got quite good stats defensively, anyway. Strand Larson, as well as attack. It's quite useful at defending, so another string to his bow. Yeah. So where was I? So then there was another Walton corner, and Strand Larson headed wide, and then on 77 minutes. Hughes comes off, so managed to survive without getting a second yellow. Kamada comes on, after being out for 8 weeks. That was good to see him back on the park. And then, so the reason I've highlighted this 80 minutes, Munoz got a yellow card for time wasting from a throw on, which was a bit disappointing. I didn't think he was holding the ball.
He went to take the throw, didn't he? Spent ages sort of lining it up, and then thought, I don't want to take it and put it down. But the reason he did it for a reason, because Richards was going to chuck it down the line, so.
Yeah. But then you see other players, they encroach another 10 yards, don't they, up the field?
Yeah.
They don't get booked for that. It's, then Shane Larson picked up a yellow card. Then Johnson came on for Sarr in the 88th minute. We had 6 minutes of injury time. And then the second chance was Shane Larson, second half. So, again, Gassant in midfield. He's controlled the ball, tapped it over the right midfielder, controlled it, put it to Shane Larson. He put it out wide. And then Munoz cut it back, and Shane Larson's hit the target again. Another good save by Verbruggen. And that ball could have gone anywhere, but it just bounces. Well, it was kind of our luck yesterday. It never seemed to go our way with the loose balls. They never fell for us. But so another good chance spurned there. But it was really good play by Gassant, by Munoz, and eventually Larson.
Yeah.
And then the final.
Sorry, I was just saying, I was particularly impressed by that bit of play by Gassant. The way he took the ball down in the middle of the park, he had players around him, and he still managed to find a Palace player with the ball, which got the move going. So he was injured as well, wasn't he? Didn't he get a knock and he stayed down or something? But
he did, yeah.
But great, he looked really good. I saw a tweet today from an Aston Villa fan saying he didn't do any of that for us. He didn't do any of that. Whereas someone was eulogising about him, what a great 30 minutes he'd had. And maybe he just chose the wrong club in the summer. So it's good to have him at Palace. Sorry, mate, I interrupted.
Yeah. No, it was, he looks very physical, which is probably what we need. And, if he is going to replace Pino, he's certainly got the physicality for it. And he's skillful as well. And then the last 90 plus 6, Munoz could have got a second yellow card. But for once, the referee gave us the benefit of the doubt, didn't book him, because otherwise he would have missed the Burnley game on Wednesday. And that was it. Final whistle. Them's in the away end again. I'll be at 10 minutes from the end. I couldn't believe it. The stadium was half empty. It's unbelievable there. It's such a manufactured football club.
Yeah, you're not wrong, are you? Look, they're all drifting out. It happens at other clubs as well, but not like that. It just happens at City. I think, Paul, we said pre-show as well that they've got a history this season of scoring lots of late goals in stoppage time, Brighton. So, you're sort of fearing the worst there. But look, they didn't look like scoring. Their fans obviously decided they weren't going to score because they exited in their droves, didn't they, yesterday?
Yeah. If it's 3-0, I get it. But when it's 1-0, and actually there was 16 minutes left on 80 minutes, you've still got 10 minutes of the game and 6 minutes of injury time.
Yeah, Phillips von David said, maybe they were just trying to get home for the Liverpool game. Yeah, I suppose that's probably a good point.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's what I referred to. Learn the man of the match for me.
Yeah. I think you gave us the stats earlier, didn't you, about Lerner's figures yesterday? And there's the stats again. Interestingly, we were quite happy to give Brighton possession. Go and play your football as much as you like, lads. 2/3 possession almost, and yet we had more shots on target, and obviously we won the game. But very happy without the ball in those situations. But they had very few touches in our penalty area, I think, compared to us. So if someone's got those stats handy, might be interesting. But we touched the ball far more in their area than they did in ours. So good 3 points, big 3 points, massive 3 points, really important 3 points. And there's a league table, CFAX style, up to 13th. It's a shame we're not 12th, really, isn't it? That would have been nice. But I'll take 13th at this stage. And does that look to you as if we're in a relegation battle now, guys? Coming back to sort of the point we made earlier, is that are we in the relegation battle still? Yes or no?
No. Well, if we are, so are Newcastle. So,
yeah.
No, not at all.
Well, especially if we win on Wednesday night, goodness me, then it's pretty.
The next two games,
pretty clear.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Europe again, won't we?
Indeed. Okay, so thank you, Fergus, for taking us through that. I just want to give you our other teams, what we're up to at the moment. That's what we do on this podcast. It's not just about the first team, but our women. They played yesterday in the WSL2. They beat Bristol City 2-1, and they played that game at exactly the same time as the guys were playing down at Brighton. It takes Palace up to 4th in the WSL2 table. And our under-18s, they played in the FA Youth Cup on Thursday last, on the 5th of February. They beat Stevenage 2-1 away. But in the under-18 Premier League, they sit second, just behind Chelsea, I think. So having a really good season. And the under-21s are playing as we speak. Are they still 1-0 down? Does anybody know? They were losing at home to Middlesbrough, playing as we broadcast live, just to prove that we are live on this pod. And they're having a bit of a tough time of it because they're down at 16th place. There's 29 teams in that division. It's bizarre. I think they only play each other once or something, home or away, and not both. So that's how the other teams are getting on at the minute, which is pretty positive as well. Okay, so last week when we were on air, guys, we had the transfer window and Nick was going on about it slamming shut and all that kind of stuff, and it did as we were on air, and we knew then that we couldn't do any more business. At the time, we said that we were going to get an extra player on board, and that didn't happen, of course. So infamously, Dwight McNeil didn't sign for Crystal Palace last Monday. And yet it had his medical and it was all going ahead, but it didn't come off. And his girlfriend widely criticised Crystal Palace on social media. So that's one thing that didn't happen. But Paul, you're going to talk us through the players that did join us and a little bit more about them, really, because we saw two make their debut yesterday. We've known about Brennan Johnson for a few weeks now. And obviously, he didn't start yesterday. It's interesting that we have a £35 million striker on our bench. I'm not sure that's happened too often. But Paul, where do you want to start? Should we start with Brendan Johnson?
Yeah, so we were just discussing what we can sort of expect from these players. Like I said, we've had a few appearances from Brendan Johnson, and obviously he dropped to the bench yesterday. But to be fair to him, obviously the few appearances he's had has been in a very weak squad with not much attacking support, as we've alluded to earlier. But yeah, just looking at his history, obviously he started at Forest. He played over 100 games there, scored 30 goals for him. He had a loan spell at Lincoln to try and obviously get him. He played the season there, scored 13 odd goals there. And then he got his big money move to Tottenham. I know Forest were a bit upset when he went because obviously his dad was a Forest player as well. And he's a good player, so they didn't obviously want to lose him, but they sold him. I think they felt like they had to sell him for PSR reasons because that was the year they went and bought about 50 players and then needed to recoup some money. And he did well at Tottenham. He was there 2 years, and people will look back at it and think, well, they sold him for less than they paid for him, so he must have been a disaster. But he was their top assister in the first season he was there, and obviously last season he was their top scorer, and obviously got their winning goal in the Euro final. So he played over 100 games for them as well, and he played every game for Forest in their first season back up as well. So he's a fit guy. He doesn't get too many injuries. So we're not cursing him here. And yeah, he obviously knows where the goal is. So I think we're going to hopefully he can play up front or on the right. So hopefully he's going to be a good addition to the squad for a couple of places. So I think 35 million. We obviously discussed that was our transfer record at the time, and I think he will be a good signing come forward. And then as we always discussed, it was amazing to get him on day one, really. But then obviously we had to wait till the final day, which is another story for the other two. And if we start with Gessard, obviously 24 years old.
Before you move on. Take a breath. Too early for Johnson. Mark Callahan says, Lee Lockwood, Johnson needs to be on the end of crosses, not supplying them. Will do his confidence the world of good. Why do you think Tottenham did sell him? Because he's still a good player. You know, he's a Welsh international. What, Ferg or Tim, why do you think Tottenham sold Brennan Johnson?
God, that's a very good question.
I know it's a good question. I'm looking for an answer.
I think it was the manager, wasn't it? I don't think Thomas Frank rated him. I think that was the only reason. I don't think he saw a future for him in his team. And if Palace were offering the sort of money we paid, it's win-win for Tottenham, wasn't it?
Listen, I think I missed his first few games because, as you know, I wasn't in the country. But when I saw him up at Forest last week, I thought the word I used to describe it was underwhelming. He just didn't do much. But I think that clearly there's a player there. Paul's mentioned he's got 100 games for Forest, 100 games for Tottenham. Goodness knows how many Welsh caps. I know it's only Wales, and he's only 24 years of age. So I think there's a player there, isn't there, Tim?
I think he.
Oh, sorry, Tim first, then you first.
Yeah, go on. Sorry, go on, Tim.
No, I was just kind of leads on to another question. Is I know we've discussed Kamara in the past, Pino today. How long do you give players to make an impact? It's all very well, and I think also what you've got to look at is, he was a club record at 35, whatever million it was until Strand Larsen. But if you look in the footballing world, really these days, 35 million isn't a huge amount of money to buy top players. So it's kind of looking at what we can afford. And again, players, different squads, different managers, different approaches suit different players. So I'm really hopeful for Johnson. I wish he was better at taking players on. He doesn't seem to have that ability to drop a shoulder and get round a player and whip a ball across. So I forget who it was in the comment made the point. Maybe he is better centrally and not as a winger. Maybe he'd be more effective if he was in the middle rather than on the wing.
Well, maybe we'll see him as a false nine. I don't know. Johnson scores a lot of goals from the back stick. Fergus.
No, I was going to say, I think he prefers to play on the right side. And I think at Tottenham, when he did play, he was played on the left. And of course, he's come to Palace and Glaston's played him in the same position. So I don't think he's had a fair chance yet in his strongest position. So but obviously that's going to be difficult for him. And Munoz and Sarr on that side, his chances are going to be limited. So he's going to have to adapt. But I think that's where
we know, don't we? We've already said many times this isn't about 11 men on a Saturday or a Sunday or whenever we play. It's about 16. So he will have a part to play, and it was very much a bit part yesterday. At least he did get on the pitch. Paul, do you agree with everything we've said? Have we done Brennan Johnson now? Would you say?
Yeah, the one thing Spurs bought Mohamed Kudus in the summer. And they also were assuming Kulusevski would come back, so he was going to be third choice for his position anyway. So they probably did think to cash him, but obviously Kulusevski's had a setback now, so he probably would be playing at Spurs a bit more if he'd stayed there, ironically. But talking of not playing, obviously Evan Gessard, he went to Villa in the summer when we were supposedly interested in him. He's a 24-year-old from the Ivory Coast. He can play anywhere across the front line, apparently. He's left, right, or up top. So he started at Nice, played a lot of games for their youth team, and over 100 games again for their main team before he moved out. Had a loan spell at Lausanne and Nantes before he basically went to Villa. And he played 21. He did make 21 appearances for Villa, most of them from the bench. So he wasn't just never playing. He got a couple of goals in Europe for them. And obviously now he's played for 4 different teams in Europe, so he's got European experience. Sorry, if he plays for us, he will play for 4 different teams in Europe. So he's got pedigree there. Like I say, he was in the AFCON recently. He was in the backup squad for the Ivory Coast, but someone got injured, so he got called in. He started 2 games there. I think he came on as 2. He scored a goal for them. So, he's another forward. As we said earlier, he's a bit stronger than some of our other forwards. He's pacey. And again, he'll be useful because he can play anywhere. And as we saw the other day, he's got a pass. He's got an eye for a killer pass. Putting Sarr through like he did. He started off playing. He's played for all the under levels at France, the under 16, 17, 18, 19. And then changed his allegiance to the Ivory Coast. So I think he's going to be a good signing purely on the basis, I think, because of his adaptability. As I say, he can cover anywhere. And I'd say after his little cameo the other day, I'd like to see him start on Wednesday. I think that's how you reward players. They come on, do well, you give them a start of the next match. So I think, and it's good that we've got an option to buy him in the summer. Although if he plays a certain amount of games, I think we have an obligation. I think it's 28 million. So
28 is it? 28.
Yeah, it's good that we got a try before you buy a sort of thing. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he gets it. And hopefully now he's at a team the way he feels like he's wanted, and that'll give him some confidence.
Yeah, certainly he started well, hasn't he? You can't wish for a better debut than maybe getting an assist against Brighton in a victory. Yeah, so maybe he just wasn't getting enough minutes at Villa. Was he competing with like a Morgan Rogers for a starting spot? Tielemans, other midfield players, maybe, I don't know, even Watkins. So, maybe he's going to get more minutes at Palace. So you'd say on the back of yesterday, you'd start him on Wednesday against Burnley, Paul?
Yeah, I'd play him as the left 10. As I say, it's I'm a firm believer if you've got the shirt and you're doing well, then you keep it. And as I say, he came on the other day. He created a goal, did some other good bits. And I think against Burnley, against Kyle Walker, they're not the quickest defence bar him, but he's getting on a bit. But yeah, I think he would give them a lot of hassle in the air and all sorts of stuff. So I think if you come on, make a goal, then yeah, you get a start the next one. Good,
yeah. Ferg, impressed with Gesund on his debut?
Yeah, agree with Paul. We should definitely get a start on Wednesday. Yeah. Especially, it's a game we need to win.
And I think Yasmin made a point in the chat. We love players from the Ivory Coast. Yes, of course we do. Yes. Did we have any other Ivory Coast players? Oh yeah, I think we did. Good. So let's come to our record signing. There's been a lot said about Jurgen Strand-Larsen and being overpriced at £48 million. Have we paid too much for him? Time will tell, I suppose. But tell us a little bit, Paul, about Strand-Larsen. Where did he start? How many times did he play for Wolves and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I was quite surprised, actually. I thought he was younger than he is, but he turned 26 last week, so he's not like a youngster anymore. But he started off in his home country in Salzburg. He played for in Groningen, and then he moved to Spain. He was in Vigo for a while. He played 70-odd games for them, and the first few clubs he was at before he eventually got his move to Wolves, initially on loan. And Wolves were impressed enough with his play to make it a 30 million signing. So he cost a lot to start with. And in the summer when Newcastle were looking about a replacement for Isak, they bid 55 million for him. So we've actually got him a bit cheaper than we could have got him for some in some things. But as Tim said, it's the going rate these days. You look at, I was reading obviously a lot of the Brighton forums this weekend, reveling in their misery, but they were talking about what we'd paid for Strand-Larsen, and some people saying it's ridiculous money. But then they paid 40 million for Rutter, and when you compare it for other sort of signings of that sort of money, it's the going rate for someone who scored 14 goals in the Premier League last year, who's in the prime of his career. International as well. He's played again 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. He's played all the levels for Norway. And has played 24 times for the full team as well. So it's a full-on international player. I think he did enough last season to show what he's about. Obviously, no one would have bought him on this season's form, but has anyone performed in that Wolves team this year? Clearly not, hence why they're where they are, the amount of points they got. But he sort of describes himself as a target man, penalty box striker. Quite interesting. I read something about him. He said that Rafa Benitez, or one of his clubs, basically took him under his wing and taught him about movement in the penalty box. He says that's something he's always used. And like I say, people say he's got one league goal this year. He scored 6 all in total with a few cup games, and he ended up scoring about 25 goals in his 60-odd games for Wolves over the 2 seasons. So he's not got a bad strike rate. And again, I'd like to think you put him in a confident team like Wolves were at the end of last season when he was being fed with people like Cunha and people like that, and now Nuria on the left wing as well. If you give him chances, and he showed yesterday, what I liked about him yesterday is he hit the target. And more often than not, he took chances and he hit. And that's always been an issue with me, as you know, when the team don't hit the target play. You do that, you've got a chance of scoring or setting something up. So, yeah, I think, as it's a record transfer, we're always going to have to do that anyway, going rate. And I'm glad the club went ahead and bought him, even with Mateta falling through, because I've always said,
I guess it could have been easy for them when they knew Mateta wasn't going to happen. It might have been easy for them to say, actually, we're not going to buy him now. We can't afford it. But they didn't, which was great. Really good news. Tim?
Yeah, I like yesterday. What I really liked about him was just how much of a nuisance he was to Dunk, and how many head-ons. He won challenges against them. He did more in that one game than Mateta's probably done for most of the season, with being a nuisance and getting knock-ons and making it difficult. And that's what you want the striker to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can compare him with Jean-Philippe Mateta, but it's like chalk and cheese in many respects, because he's been carrying that injury, JP. and everyone's going to jump on me now, just saying he's not good enough and he shouldn't be playing for Palace again. I don't know, but we can talk about it in a sec. But yeah, Norwegian international, got pedigree, played in Spain, got Premier League experience, and got an eye for goal. And certainly, he for me yesterday, as I said earlier, he was pressing from the goal kicks and forcing errors and just making a nuisance of himself. And he is a big bloke. He's 6'4" apparently. So it bodes well. I like the look of him, and I'm pleased he's at Palace. And I look forward to seeing him. And I'm pretty certain he's going to score on Wednesday night. If he plays against that Burnley side, and Burnley are so bad that apparently Burnley have only kept 3 clean sheets all season. They've conceded 49 goals, and they've got the worst expected goals conceded in the Premier League by some distance. So, it just bodes well, doesn't it, for him and Salah on Wednesday night.
I was going to say he's a very confident lad as well, and I think he fits in well with the team. I can see him in the dressing room being quite loud and joining in, and team bonding.
Yeah, nice footage of that, and he was speaking Spanish at one point as well. I noticed to somebody.
Yeah, to Pino. Yeah.
Interesting. So, so good window overall. How would you rate? I mean, did we do this last week? Didn't we? Rated the window, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, but it was at that moment when we all thought we were getting McNeil. I mean, again, it's to me, it would have been a really good window, but for the fact that we did it all too late. If you only bid for Dwight McNeil at 3:00 on the transfer deadline and try and think you're going to get a deal done by 7:00, I mean, you don't leave your room for any hitches. And it was interesting to hear Glasner saying that we also had huge bids in for a couple of centre backs. Now, but apparently their clubs wouldn't sell on deadline day. Now, why we don't bid a week before? Why you wait till we should have of all times, we should know, because we denied Mark Gahey a move on deadline day because we couldn't get a replacement. So what do you expect from other clubs? Now, if we're prepared to spend that money, big money on defenders like we apparently were, to do it a week before. We didn't have a game the week before. It does my head in. I'd love to know the reason for it. But yeah, so if we'd have got a centre back and midfielder, it would have been a really, really good window. As it is, we've gone from the sublime to the ridiculous. We had 3 forwards. We've now got 8 forwards potentially if Mateta's reintegrated. And obviously, with Uche still there, and Nketiah comes back, so there's certainly going to be competition for places. And it's going to be interesting to see how they go. But yeah, overall, a good window. Just a shame we didn't get the other 2 and act quicker.
Is Uche's time at Palace dead now, given that he's not made the conference squad? Just 24 players allowed for Crystal Palace in the conference squad. Other teams allowed 25. We're only allowed 24, apparently, because we've only got 3 homegrown players. I think that's correct. I think I'm right in saying that. I feel a bit sorry for him, given that he scored some good goals in the competition in the group stage. How would you feel if you were Uche, Tim?
I quite like him. I understand what people mean. His inconsistencies and doesn't do that much. But can you honestly say he's been given a fair crack of the whip? I mean, he's no worse and performs no worse than other players who get repeated starts. And even when we did have so few players, he still didn't get a go. And it's like, well, unless a player is given a chance, look at Mateta. I mean, for after 2 years, we were get rid of him. But then Glasner came in and turned him round and look at him. And I don't think he's really been given enough of a chance, to be fair.
Yeah, Yasmin doesn't agree with you. She says Uche isn't good enough, unfortunately. Paul, do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, Tim's right. He's not had much of a chance. He's not done that much when he has had a chance, but he suffered from the contract that we did him on. We obviously, if we play him a certain amount of times, we've got to pay £20 million for him. Now, if someone at the start decides we're not paying £20 million for him, then he's not going to play much unless it's absolutely desperate. So, yeah, the deal he signed really sort of shot himself in the foot in that respect.
Indeed. Okay, so pretty good window, I think. I'm pleased with particularly Strain Larson and Gesson. And Johnson, really, all 3 of them. So looking forward to seeing them playing red and blue. Before we get into looking ahead at the games that are coming up, one piece of news that came out today was that the Premier League's KMI panel. Do you know what KMI stands for, Tim?
I don't have a clue.
It stands for Key Match Incidents. Okay. the Premier League's KMI panel met and they voted unanimously, 5 votes to 0, that the Chelsea penalty against us the other week, the VAR decision, was an incorrect decision and it shouldn't have been a penalty kick.
No
Talk
shit,
about slap
Sherlock.
in the face. Now, we lost the game 3-1. If the game had been 2-0 and we'd scored a goal back, it could have been very different. And of course, it was the second time this season that we came unstuck against Chelsea for some jumped up VAR official. In the
Same
opening
referee
game,
as
of course.
well. Same
Yeah, exactly.
referee.
They ruled out the free kick, and it was Darren England in the middle. Darren England shouldn't be allowed anywhere near the Crystal Palace fixture ever again, in my opinion. But I'm sure he will be. But I couldn't believe that. I mean, that decision, Paul, it obviously didn't surprise you.
Yeah, I don't like being kind to Darren England, but he didn't give the penalty. So in this instance, he was correct.
Why did he get his mind persuaded? How did he get persuaded?
Because they do that. You saw the farce of the VAR decision yesterday with the Liverpool game, although ultimately that was correct and probably the right way to do it. But once you get in a ref's ear, I think there is, as I say, he ironically he's one of the ones who has stuck to his decision to our cost when he's gone to a screen. But there's a few of them have. But I think even the commentators at the time, I remember both Sky and BBC commentary saying they're really having to persuade Darren England to give this one. And I think he was just bogged down by the law. But I mean, at the time, you couldn't really tell at the time. Once you saw it back, there's no way Camvo could have done anything differently. He didn't, and it was never a penalty. But I think a lot of people. You get blinded by the rule book. Brentford had a very similar one at Newcastle on Saturday, and I think you get blinded by the fact that the ball's going in the net. But actually, if it's not handball, it doesn't matter. But it doesn't help us that we get that decision, but hopefully it means going forward that decision won't happen again.
The Brentford one was different though, because he had his arm out and he hit his arm first, whereas our one he hit the hip and then
ours was less, but it was similar, yeah.
Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because it came out today. So, we're on the ball on this pod, of course, and we like to bring you the latest news from SE25. Nigel, can we have a look at the fixtures that are coming up, please? There we go. So, I hope that you'll be joining me at Sellers Park on Wednesday evening. It's a 7:30 kickoff, which is very welcome because it means that I can get the 10:20 train instead of the 11:20 train home back to Sussex. It's on TNT Sport if you can't make it. Burnley, as I said earlier, they've got a dreadful record in the Premier League this season, and we should score goals. Everything crossed, of course. And then next weekend, of course, we don't have a fixture because guess what? We're out of the FA Cup. But it does give the players a break, a significant break of over a week before we play. Now, how are we saying this? Zrinski? Is that how we say it? Zrinski from Mostar? So if you're going to Mostar, if you're going to Bosnia, tell us in the chat. If you're going to the away game, it kicks off at 5:45 p.m. UK time on Thursday, the 19th of February. Really looking forward to that. And then we play Wolves at home in the Premier League. The bottom two teams visit Sellers Park in consecutive games, and that one's live on Sky TV. A 2 p.m. kickoff on Sunday, the 22nd of February, before we play the home fixture in the knockout stage of the Conference League against the team from Bosnia. We then go to Old Trafford on 1st of March, and then Spurs is an away game in the Premier League on a Thursday night. And I think one of the reasons they've moved that for TV on a Thursday night is that the weekend, the Saturday and Sunday, is again FA Cup, and we're both out of the FA Cup, as I've already said. So let's get some score predictions for Wednesday, shall we? Let's just talk about the Burnley game for now. I'm going to come to you first, Paul Gear. Tell me what the score's going to be on Wednesday night.
I think 2-0. I think we only just beaten 1-0 up there, and we were fairly strong at that point. It was when we were in one of our winning habits. So they're a tough nut to crack, but I think since then their heads have really dropped, and they've had some real shocking performances, and I think they're resigned to relegation now. So if we can get an early goal, then hopefully we can get a few. But I'm going for 2-0.
Okay, 2-0 for you, Tim.
3-1.
3-1. Ferg?
3-0.
3-0. And I was thinking 3-0 as well. Not 2-1 then, no. 3-0. I bet you still
I'll
bet
bet on
2-1.
2-1, but
Yeah.
I think we'll win 3-0.
I think we're going to see Sarr and Strand-Larsen amongst the goals. Wouldn't it be nice to get a comfy win? We've only scored 3 once in the Premier League this season. Where was that, Paul Gear?
We got 3 out to Bournemouth. Mateta got a hat-trick.
Oh, no, that's we did go. Yeah, sorry, we did score 3 out to Bournemouth. I was thinking there's another time. We won 3-0.
3 at Villa.
3 at Villa,
yeah.
3-0 at Villa. Good stuff. Okay, we won't do the points prediction tonight. Thank you to everyone that joined us in the chat tonight. Lots of predictions going through. We'll have a look at those later on. I hope you really enjoy the game on Wednesday. We're going to be back next Sunday. We did talk about doing a pod midweek because we haven't got a game at the weekend. But we're going to be back next Sunday, the 15th of February at 8 p.m. to review the Burnley game and look ahead to European glory. Okay, so I've been Ian Noble. These guys have been with me tonight. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and have a very good rest of your evening. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Up the Palace.